Hello, my name is Tom Wormuth. I'm the District Administrator in the Adams Friendship Area School District. Thank you for taking a few minutes of your time to review a video regarding our current and future funding situation in the Adams Friendship Area School District. This video should take about 30 minutes. There'll be a couple videos inside the video that we'd like you to watch. And again, at any point in time, we welcome your feedback. Feel free to call me at the district office or send an email. We love hearing from you and we'd love your feedback. So what are we going to discuss in this video? First, the Adams Friendship Area School District is dedicated to preparing all students to perform for life. What this means is that we teach good citizenship. We provide a safe learning environment for our students. We address the learning needs of every student. We deliver comprehensive educational programming, and we partner with families and other members of the community to try to provide the best experience we can to the students that we serve. I'd like to give you a glimpse of some of the hopes and dreams of the students we serve.
When I grow up, I want to be a veterinarian.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher, and my name is going to be Mrs. Fee.
I want to be a math teacher when I grow up. What I want to be when I grow up is a cop and a scientist.
When I grow up, I want to be a PGA golfer and play professional golf.
When I grow up, I want to be a demolition derby driver.
When I grow up, I want to be a dancer.
When I grow up, I want to be a unicorn keeper.
I want to be a nurse when I grow up.
When I grow up, I want to be a waitress.
When I grow up, I want to be a science teacher.
After I graduate, I plan to become a director of faith formation and youth ministry.
When I grow up, I want to be a farmer. When I grow up, I want to be an engineer.
When I grow up, I want to be a forensic analyst or a medical examiner.
When I grow up, I want to take over my mom's trail riding business when she retires.
After I graduate, I'm going to play college basketball and pursue a degree in forensic psychology.
When I grow up, I want to be a vet.
When I grow up, I want to major either in music or in English.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher.
When I grow up, I want to be a 4K teacher.
After I graduate, I want to become an artist.
When I grow up, I want to be a creator of movies.
When I grow up, I would like to be a farmer.
When I graduate, I want to be an elementary school teacher.
When I grow up, I want to be a lawyer.
When I grow up, I want to be a nurse.
I want to be a carpenter when I grow up.
After I graduate, I want to become a veterinarian.
When I grow up, I want to be a baker.
When I grow up, I want to go to Juilliard.
After I graduate, I want to become an elementary school teacher.
After I graduate, I want to be a business owner.
When I grow up, I want to be a psychologist.
Together, we can provide Adams Friendship students with opportunities to give them the best chance to be successful. Opportunities that prepare them for their future, be it if they enter the workforce or decide to go to college. These opportunities should look similar to what other students receive across the state of Wisconsin. Our hope is that every student becomes a citizen that will make a difference in their community. We need to help ensure that our students realize their dreams. What do we remember about our experiences in school? We need to recognize that what schools offer students today extends far beyond what you might have experienced as a student. The pictures you see are examples of the offerings that are available to students in the Adams Friendship Area School District. Some of the changes that have occurred in education over time include how we use technology, what the curriculum looks like, what learning spaces look like. If you were to tour our buildings in any given day, you would see flexible seating in classrooms that look much different than the rows and desks that I experienced. We also try to apply real-world applications to the educational experience. We have our students out into the community as much as possible and community members coming into the school to try to provide a connection between school and the real world. In addition to basic educational experiences, we also try to meet the needs of our students. And what that means is we're not just addressing educational needs. We're addressing food insecurities in our community. We provide after-school care for our students from pre-kindergarten through 8th grade. We try to meet students' physical well-being, including dental care, and we try to meet students' mental health needs. This graph compares our revenues and expenditures over time. You can see that we've been in a deficit spending situation since the beginning of this school year. If you look at our fund balance, it will reach negative numbers in the 2024-2025 school year. When looking at our expenditures, without increasing staffing, programming, or student opportunities, we are in a deficit situation. Our funding is not keeping up with the cost of educating our students. Simple examples of raising expenses include beef over the last 10 years has gone up 53%. Fuel costs have almost doubled. A gallon of milk has gone up 70 cents. And base teaching salaries have gone from $31,000 to $40,000 over the last decade. This has happened all while our funding has remained stagnant. Keep in mind that if we did not receive COVID-related funding, we would be in a much worse position today than we currently are. Our deficit would be much bigger. The next two slides will help you understand how we use our funds, our expenditures. Our overall operating budget is approximately $20 million. 67.8% of our budget is allocated to salaries, benefits, and insurance. 19.4% is allocated for purchase services, which includes things like third-party contracting for transportation with Cobus and bus services, and technology with TC Networks, plus all the business software we use behind the scenes to help us operate. 5.4% is related to non-capital items. These are supplies and consumables that our staff and students use throughout the year. 6.9% is related to capital items. These are one-time expenses. An example of a capital expense would be this summer, we're spending approximately $1.5 million to re-roof some of the original portions of the roof on our high school. You should note that food service is not included in this pie chart. It runs on its own revenues and expenditures. And finally, there's a small sliver on the pie graph, and that's approximately less than 1%. And that's for things for like dues and fees that we pay. From the previous slide, you should note that almost 68% of our expenditures are related to salaries and benefits. How does that break down further? That's what the second slide will provide. Approximately 71% of our salaries and benefits is related to providing salaries and benefits for our professional staff. Support staff make up 15.1% of this pie graph, administration 8.5%, co-curriculars 2.3%. And co-curriculars are things like sports, student council, FFA, those types of activities. And about 3.1% of our budget around salaries and benefits goes to fund substitute positions in our district. So, how are schools funded? Shortly, we're going to show you a brief video to help explain the complexities of the school funding formula. Please note in the video the following representations. Soda equates to state funding. ICE, local property taxes, including referendum contributions. The glasses, and you'll see different sized glasses in the video, relate to the per student revenue limit. Again, we're going to play a short video now about revenue limits and how schools are funded. Hi, today I'm going to try to illustrate the school funding formula using Coca-Cola, ice, and a couple of different sized plastic cups. In 1992-1993, then Governor Tommy Thompson decided that he had to do something to slow down the taxes that school boards were levying the public to fund schools. Prior to 1992-1993, school boards at their annual meeting made a determination about how they were going to levy taxes to pay for public schools. So based on what school districts were spending in 1992, 1993 became the revenue limit, how much they could generate total in local taxes, local property taxes, and shared sources to fund schools. So if you were a lucky school district and were spending a lot to educate students in 1992-93, you then, forevermore, have had a high revenue limit. So the lucky school districts are going to be represented by a big Dixie cup. If you were a relatively frugal school district, low spending school district per student in 1992-93, your revenue limit became lower throughout history since that time. So right now, in the state of Wisconsin, the state tells us, our elected officials tell us that the minimum amount that it takes to educate a student is $10,000 per child. So that's going to be a small Dixie cup. There are other school districts, because they were spending so much in 1992-93, and these are public school districts in the state of Wisconsin, that are able to generate revenue at the rate of $8,000 more per child than we are here in Adams Friendship. So in Adams, we are at the minimum floor, which is $10,000 per child. Other districts, the lucky ones, based on what they were spending in 1992-93, are highly revenued school districts, sometimes in the $18,000 per child range, so $8,000 more per child. So back in 1993-94, approximately 70% of our school district funding, and again, we're a small, low-revenued school district, what the state considers is the minimum. So back in 93-94, we received about 70% of our funding from shared sources, the good stuff. Okay, so those monies came primarily from the state. The vast majority of those shared sources came from the state, and that's going to be represented by Coca-Cola. We want more Coke in our cup and less ice. So this cup is about, in my guesstimate, 70% filled. And then in order to reach that revenue limit, about 30% of our funding came from local property taxes, what we don't want in our drink. And that's represented by ice. So over time, what has happened is there's no way for a low-revenued school district to catch up to the high-revenued school district. We're never going to have the $18,000 cup. We're always going to have the $10,000 cup. But over time, as our enrollment has declined and our property value increases, we have changed the mix between Coke and ice in our small, low-revenued cup. So right now, those numbers have completely inversed. 20 years ago, we got approximately 70% of our funding from shared sources. Today, we only get about 30% of our funding from shared sources. So there's a lot less Coke in that second cup than there was in the first cup. And we have to make up the difference with local property taxes. And what's happened over time is that these numbers haven't kept up with things like inflation and the cost of doing business. So even though we've made some structural changes in our district, we've closed buildings, we have far fewer staff members working in our district right now, we're struggling to keep up. And on top of that, we have to ask for more revenue from local property taxpayers to help fund what we already know is not adequate or keeping pace with inflation. So that's why we're in the situation that we are. Revenue limits established in 1993-94, based on what you were spending per child in 1992-93, is an inadequate way to pay for public education. And The increases in revenue limits have not kept up with the increases in inflation and the cost for us to do business. Some of you might be asking about the existing referendum that exists in the Adams Friendship Area School District. Taxpayers in our community voted yes to a $950,000 referendum for 5 years, beginning with the 2018-2019 school year and will end after the 22-23 school year. Again, this referendum will expire at the end of the 22-23 school year, next year. Without a change in the state funding formula, the Adams Friendship community will need to pass another referendum to ensure that the school district maintains our current programming and remains solvent. One way to think about school funding is to think about the mill rate. Local school-related property taxes are based upon the current mill rate. This is the amount of money the school district levies to pay for schools per $1,000 of assessed property value. This covers the portion of the revenue limit that comes from local property taxes, the ICE in the previous video. This covers about 70% of how our school is funded. You can see that the mill rate in our district has been on a steady decline over the past 10 years. What does the mill rate mean for my local property taxes? The mill rate is related to what you see on the school line of your property tax bill. This graph illustrates the cost per year if your property is valued at exactly $100,000. If you look back to the 2013-2014 school year, for $100,000 of assessed property value, the tax bill would have been $1,083 for the school portion of your property taxes. If you look at the 2019-2020 school year, property owners paid $750 on the school portion of their property taxes if they owned $100,000 of property exactly. What the Adams Friendship Area School District has been trying to do for the last decade is balance cost reductions while at the same time meeting our student needs and maintaining the opportunities we provide. Some of the things we've done to maintain our expenditures: we've closed 4 elementary school buildings. With each closure, there have been reduction in operating costs and a reduction in staffing. We've also third-party contracted our district transportation. We're actually spending less still on transportation costs than we were 9 years ago when the district owned our own buses. Unfortunately, at the same time, we have less fiscal resources to use to help educate our students. We are also dealing with things like staffing shortages, a lack of substitute teachers and substitutes to help in our support positions. We've had a difficult time trying to retain our staff members, and we need to respond to inflationary increases. While we are trying to contend with increased operational costs, we also have facility needs. The slide you see before you is a picture of our middle school. Our middle school was built in 1916, I believe, over 100 years ago. Many of our community members had the opportunity to discuss our facilities last year and know that we have learning space needs on top of our operational needs. So, what are we going to do to try to ensure that there is a future for the Adams Friendship Area School District and the students and families that we serve? Until the state changes the school funding formula, our only option is to ask community members for support. We are not unique in this situation. Up to 90% of school districts across the state of Wisconsin have had to ask for an operational referendum since the 1993-1994 school year. In my opinion, we are going to need to ask for an operational referendum, not to expand what we're doing, but just to maintain what we're providing students currently. This next graph is an illustration of what you have spent, what you are currently spending, and what you could expect to pay over the course of the next 4 years in the school portion of your property taxes if the Adams Friendship Area School District were to pass a referendum next November. If we pass a referendum in November, it would allow us to spread the referendum costs over 4 years instead of 3. If we're allowed to spread the referendum costs over 4 years, the mill rate will still rise, but will be lower than it was during the 2017-2018 school year just 4 years ago. The next few slides break down the dollar costs if we were to pass a referendum in November to just maintain what we're currently providing. This is what the community would allow the school district to levy over the current revenue limits. During the 2022-2023 school year, we would ask for an additional $1.7 million. In 23-24, we'd ask for an additional $3.2 million. In 24-25, we'd ask for $3.7 million. And in 25-26, we would ask for an additional $4 million. What we just talked about sound like really big dollars, but what does this mean to individual property owners? You can see that the mill rate is based upon the value of your property in this slide for the 2021-2022 school year. You've already paid this amount based on your property value. If you owned a home or had property valued at $100,000, you've already paid $760 in the school portion of your property taxes this year. That breaks down to about $2.08 a day. If you have a $200,000 property, you've paid $1,520 this year, which equates to $4.16 per day. If you had $300,000 worth of property, you've already paid $2,280 this year, or about $6.25 per day to help fund public schools. So what would it mean if next year the taxpayers allowed the school district to levy $1.7 million more to help fund our schools? What would that mean for individual property owners? It would mean about $5 a year per $100,000 of assessed property value. Therefore, if you owned $100,000 worth of property next year, instead of $760, which you've already paid this year, you'd spend $765, a $5 increase. If you had $200,000 worth of property, you would pay $1,530 next year, a $10 increase. If you had $300,000 worth of property, you would spend $2,295 next year, a $15 increase. And just projecting out, if you had $500,000 worth of property, it would be an additional $25 in the 2022-2023 school year. If the community does not pass a November referendum, we're still going to have needs. And most likely the school board would elect to come back to you in April and ask for another referendum, but spread out over a 3-year period versus a 4-year period. We'll still probably need the same amount of money. The mill rate will be estimated to drop $1 for the 2022-2023 school year if we don't spread that amount over 4 years. This means it will drastically increase the following 3 years. The mill rate would go up $1.10 in 2023-2024, $1.40 the next year, and then 44 cents the next year, respectively. These numbers might be harder for taxpayers to support due to the larger annual increases. If the Adams Friendship Area School District is not able to pass an operational referendum next November, we'll have to spread the costs potentially over 3 years with another referendum question in the following April. If we can't pass a referendum in November and April, we'll have to cut approximately $12 million from our budget over the next 4 years. What this would mean for our students in our community. We'd have significantly larger class sizes in our buildings. We'd have to reduce or eliminate co-curricular opportunities, reduce or eliminate sports, forensics, student council, FFA, arts programming. We'd lose our connection with the Adams County Sheriff's Department and our school resource officers. We wouldn't be able to provide any outside counseling or mental health services to our students because we simply couldn't afford it. We'd have to reduce the number of special education and support teachers who work with students in small groups or individually to help them try to catch up to their peers. Our class offerings would be reduced. So career and technology education, which includes things like welding, automotive experiences, our building trades and carpentry classes, our engineering classes, our ag classes would all be cut. We'd also have to probably cut elective courses that aren't required by the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction for our students. So they are talking about things like art, music, band, and choir. We wouldn't be able to offer competitive salaries to our staff, which means we'd have a difficult time attracting and retaining our staff. To give you an example of what that's like, in the 1990s, approximately 20 to 25% of all students continuing in a four-year educational program, a college or a university, four-year college or a university, were in an educational related field. They were either going to be teachers, guidance counselors, social workers, school psychologists. Today, less than 4% across the country of students in four-year colleges and universities are in educational programs. That number, less than 4%, isn't enough to keep up with just the number of people that are retiring from the teaching and education profession. Finally, if we're not able to pass a referendum, this will have dramatic rippling effects on our entire community. It will impact our ability to attract young families. It will impact our ability to have a more viable economic development process in our community. It would impact our healthcare opportunities. It would impact our businesses and infrastructure. One of the things that we're trying to do is help all of our students achieve their goals. I'd like you to watch a short video after I say a few words about some of our students and their goals for their adult life. First, though, we are in the process of disseminating a survey throughout the district. We're going to offer this survey electronically through our website and social media. We're going to be offering hard copies to people that would like to pick those up from the district office. But I urge you to complete these surveys to give the school district and the school board more information as we discuss this important topic around a potential referendum. Thank you.
AFE helps me with math, reading, and art, and how those help me. Art helps me build stuff so cattle can't get out, and math helps me add measurements and stuff, and reading helps me measure the measurements.
How AFE is going to help me is by learning math, reading, and art. Math's going to help me learn measurements. Art is going to help me kind of decorate stuff. And reading's going to help me read the instructions of the baking.
How AF is going to help me, AFE is going to help me is by art, being a creator, and by the technology we use on our Chromebooks and the writing we do in our classroom.
AF helps me to do math and art because if I want to be an engineer, math is helping me to measure stuff and art is helping me to build stuff.
AFE is going to help me by learning math and reading so I know the measurement for the saddle that would fit the horse. And reading is going to help me know the medicines that the horse needs when it's sick.
AF has helped me by challenging me and doing a noetic or math challenge.
AF helps me become a lawyer because in one of our classes we're doing mock interview letters, and also in other classes we do debates, which is very similar to being a lawyer.
Adam's Friendship helps me by providing band class. You also can be in music or in choir. And for English, we have really fun ELA classes and fun ELA teachers, and we get to do different projects.
Because the school helps me learn, and I can find a teacher that can help me, and then I can take one home and practice.
AFE helps me by teaching me all the subjects that I might be able to teach to my 4K class.
AF has helped me pursue my dreams by allowing me to job shadow at the elementary school and has connected me to Midstate during school hours.
This school teaches me math, reading, and confidence.
AF helps me by allowing me to take classes that are business oriented like business law and also letting me attend Business World.
And Friendship is helping me reach that goal by giving me experiences and helping me see what that career actually does.
AF helps me become a psychologist because they teach me self-control and how to make connections with others.
AF can help me when I go to high school and I can take ag classes.
AFE challenges me by doing math and reading.
The school has provided me with the opportunity to go and observe pre-K classrooms.
AF helps me by allowing me to participate in choir.
AF has helped me by providing me an opportunity to play for them and teaching me self-discipline.
AF has helped me by connecting me with people and programs to pursue my dream.
The school helps me by reading and counting money.
AF has helped me by offering a bunch of ag classes and job shadow opportunities.
AF helps me by teaching me fractions and math.